All right, we are about to dive into one of the biggest, most mind-bending questions you can possibly imagine. We're going to use a framework that might just flip your entire understanding of reality on its head. So get ready, because our journey is starting before the beginning.
So here it is, the big one. This is a puzzle that's kept philosophers and physicists up at night for centuries. The model we're exploring today suggests the answer isn't some big spark or a bang, but actually a glitch. A glitch in the very definition of nothing.
To even start answering that, we have to begin with our first big idea, the perfect void. And the key here is to completely rethink what we even mean when we say nothingness.
So, the idea here is that the void is a perfect form. Now, why perfect? Well, because it's completely whole. It has no parts, no divisions, no before or after. This isn't just empty space we're talking about. It's a state that exists before the very concepts of space and time even came to be.
And this is a really crucial distinction to make. You see, we understand things like emptiness or silence because we know what their opposites are, form and sound. They're defined by what they're not. The void, on the other hand, isn't the opposite of anything. It's the absolute precondition, the blank slate needed for any system of opposites to exist in the first place.
Okay, so let's move on and see how this perfect, seamless state starts to come apart. Turns out, its absolute perfection actually contains the seeds of its own destruction. This is where we get to what's called the paradox engine.
And here's the flaw, the kicker. Because the void excludes absolutely nothing, it can't exclude the possibility of reference. So, what's the one thing it could possibly refer to? Itself. This one simple act of self-reference is the first tiny crack in that perfect mirror.
Now, to get why self-reference is so explosive, just look at this classic example, the barber paradox. It creates a situation that has no logical answer. If he shaves himself, he breaks the rule. If he doesn't, he has to be shaved by himself. It's a closed loop, a total contradiction. This is exactly the kind of knot you get into when a system tries to define itself from within.
And this brings us to a more formal name for this kind of problem, a Gödelian loop. It's named after the logician Kurt Gödel, and it basically describes any system that, because it refers to itself, can never be both complete and consistent. It's doomed to fail at defining itself, creating this endless, nagging paradox it can never solve.
But it doesn't just stop with one little loop. Get this. Every single time the system fails to resolve the paradox, that very failure creates a new internal contradiction. And that kicks off another attempt, which fails again and again. You see? It creates a chain reaction, a cascade of paradoxes all feeding on each other. It becomes an engine that literally runs on its own failure.
So this sounds like a total catastrophic failure, right? Just an endless spiral into contradiction. But, and this is the most incredible part of this entire idea, this is where creation happens. This is emergence from failure.
This is so important. This model completely reframes that catastrophic failure. It's not a bug, it's the central feature. The paradox isn't the problem, it's the engine. The endless, repetitive nature of this failure actually starts to produce something new.
This helps visualize that critical shift. You have the loop, which is this chaotic, inward-facing mess of contradiction. But as it fails over and over again in very similar ways, it starts to create a consistent pattern, almost like an echo. And that echo projects outward as something new, and importantly stable, the thread. This thread is the very first thing to actually exist. Now, it's not a solution to the paradox. It's more like a shadow, or maybe like the wake left in the water by a churning engine. It is the patterned residue of failure, and it becomes the foundation for all future structure.
Okay, let's tie all of this together and see what it really means for our own reality. This whole line of thought leads to a pretty radical conclusion. We might be living in a universe that is literally built on paradox.
So here's the whole journey in 5 quick steps. You start with the perfect, unbroken void. Its perfection forces it to allow self-reference, which then inevitably creates a paradoxical loop. The repeated failure of this loop to resolve itself generates a consistent pattern. And finally, that pattern emerges as the first stable structure, the very beginning of a cosmos.
And this, right here, is the big takeaway. If this model holds up, then reality isn't built on some foundation of clean, perfect logic. It's the exact opposite. Existence is the beautiful,
complex and stable structure that emerges from a fundamental, unresolvable glitch at the very heart of non-being.
This leaves us with a truly profound thought, and it's captured perfectly in this final quote. Maybe the universe exists not in spite of contradiction and mystery, but because of it. The very things we cannot solve might just be the engine that generates everything we can see. It is an absolutely incredible idea to think about.